All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you were able to join us for today's TA chat. And we have such a large audience with us today to learn about model schools. My name is Nicole Fintel. I'm going to be talking to you today about the 23-24 Florida PBIS model school process. And we're going to take a first look at the new application online for schools and for district coordinators today. So we've put the link for the handouts today in the chat box, and we're going to continue to add those. Here's our agenda for today's TA chat. We're going to start off with a brief review of the 23-24 model school requirements, some resources available to us to support this year's applications. We are going to then do a live demonstration of the online model school application process with a look at the school view as well as some functions for district coordinators. And finally, we're going to wrap up our chat today with a question and answer session to answer any of your questions you have about this year's model school recognition process. We have a bunch of our team members in this call today as well. So if you do have any questions as I'm going through the content, you can add it to the chat and we're going to be monitoring that and we'll respond appropriately. Okay, so just a little background before we really get into this year's process about model schools. So Florida PBIS has had established this model school recognition system back in the 2008-2009 school year. And the purpose of model schools is to celebrate effective PBIS implementation and progress in improving outcomes across Florida schools. It also encourages schools to continue collecting and using their PBIS implementation and outcome data to guide their decision-making. And the specific criteria that we've outlined to be recognized as a Florida PBIS model school has evolved over time, and it matches some of the progress that we see in our schools here in Florida. And also, we're trying to push the envelope and encourage schools to continue expanding and refining their PBIS systems. And there are some prerequisites for schools to be eligible to apply for a Florida PBIS Model School Award. These are the prerequisites for the current school year. First, schools have to be an active PBIS school, meaning that they've been trained and they're recognized as actively implementing PBIS by our project. They have to submit evaluation items that are outlined here in the green. This starts with a PBIS implementation checklist, or the PIC, which was we asked schools to complete back in the fall. And currently, schools should be working to with their teams to complete the benchmarks of quality, or the BOQ, to assess their fidelity of Tier 1 implementation, and then the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, or TFI, to assess fidelity of implementation at Tiers 2 and 3. And external reviewers, such as the school's district coordinator, should also complete a walkthrough of the Tier 1 to confirm Tier 1 implementation. And to be eligible for an award, schools have to score at least 80% on the BOQ and 60% on that walkthrough. There are no minimum criteria tied to the TFI to be eligible to apply for an award, but there are some minimum TFI requirements for some of our advanced award levels at Tiers 2 and 3, which I'll talk about shortly. And then finally, to be eligible, schools are required to complete all portions of the outcome data summary, or ODS. And this is where schools submit attendance data, the number of referrals and suspensions that students received during the school year that's disaggregated by race, ethnicity, and disability status. In addition to submitting those data, schools will not be eligible for an award if they report extraordinarily high rates of referrals and suspensions in the school year. And the final two items you see here in gray are related to the district supports. The first one is that your district coordinator must work with our project to ensure that their team has participated in a recent yearly implementation planning meeting. That's a criteria for districts to continue staying engaged with us. And finally, each school must be recommended by their district coordinator to receive a model school award. So this recommendation, district coordinators are agreeing that the data that was submitted is accurate and it matches their perceptions of implementation at that school. So once a school has met all of these prerequisites, they're able to access our new and improved online application system. to complete and submit their model school application, and this is going to be available from June 18th through September 1st. And this is just the timeline for the 23-24 model school award cycle. Includes when all of the evaluation data are available to submit for the school year. So we're currently in our end year evaluation cycle, as I mentioned. So schools have from now through June 15th to submit their BOQ, TFI, and walkthrough. And then the outcome data summary is available following the last student day of school at your school, whenever that is, and whenever that falls. And then finally, after submitting all of the data, the model school cycle will be open starting June 18th. And this is when district coordinators can go in and submit their recommendations, and schools can log in to apply for an award. I had a comment that my sound is being broken up. Can others hear me okay? Or is this something that's happening across? We can get a thumbs up if you can hear me, or anyone from my team.
Your sound is great.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so this year in 23-24, we're going to be recognizing 4 levels of awards, like we've done in the last couple of years. Schools will be eligible to apply for a bronze award if they meet all of the prerequisites that I reviewed. That's indicating you're implementing Tier 1 with fidelity with those relatively low student discipline rates. Silver model schools have to meet all the criteria for bronze while also reporting no significant levels of disproportionality with their disaggregated outcome data. Gold schools must meet criteria for both bronze and silver, and they're also required to provide evidence demonstrating that they're implementing PBIS at Tier 2. And finally, our platinum eligibility schools recognizes those schools who have met all of the criteria for gold, silver, and bronze, while also providing evidence that they're implementing PBIS at Tier 3. So we have the 23-24 model school live binder, which includes a lot of the resources, all of the resources I've already reviewed with you today. It includes the timeline, the list of prerequisites, the detailed criteria, a fillable practice form, as well as other resources to help you understand some of the different criteria, such as the outcome rate criteria and minimum criteria for the gold and the platinum level applications. We've also linked to on the slide, and you can click on these links if you download the handouts that are being posted, links to our Tier 2 and Tier 3 pages of our website. That includes a lot of resources, templates, and examples for schools who are interested in a gold or platinum award might want to check out those particular websites.
You in Tishkin's class?
We also have just a lot of general resources to help districts and schools with their end-year evaluation data. We have some briefs that show how you can submit data and use the different tools within PBSES, as well as how to navigate that website. So if you're new to submitting data to our project, or if this is your first year applying for an award or using our data system, you can check out the live binder here to access those resources. Okay, so that was just my really brief overview of the 23-24 model school award levels, criteria, and some resources to support your application. I'm actually going to spend the majority of my time here today going into the online application and showing you the actual process of submitting a model school application for the school year. So if you did have questions more generally about criteria to apply, I would recommend that you check out some of these resources and the TA chat, especially that's linked to here, that we did back in October, which I went through all of the criteria for the award levels in more detail. But this flow chart shows an overview of the application process. It all starts with the schools submitting to our projects that accurate data that you're collecting and reporting within the online PBSES evaluation system. And based on those data, we determine the level for which your district coordinator can submit a recommendation for an award. The district coordinator is then able to log into the model school section of our website to provide the recommendations to our project. So by recommending a school to apply, that district coordinator is agreeing that the school's data accurately reflects that district coordinator's experience of the implementation at the school. And there are some input that district coordinators can provide into which level they are recommending. This is only for gold and platinum, or advanced tiers, but they can recommend based on the school's data, either at the highest level or at a lower silver or gold level. A school that meets all requirements, again, yeah, no, I already said that. So bronze and silver awards are just based entirely on their data. Sorry about that. After the district coordinator provides the recommendation, the school can log into our website to complete and submit the application. Similarly to the district coordinator recommendation input that they have, schools also have some input into which level they'd like to apply. So if you're eligible for a platinum award as a school, you can choose to submit a platinum application, or you can choose to submit lower for gold or silver, depending on the information you've gathered and where you feel like you are as a school. And then once you've submitted your application, we have a process to review and finalize applications based on some criteria that we've shared at the beginning of the school year. So that is also found in our Live Finder. There is a resource that goes through in detail for gold and platinum, the specific criteria for receiving those awards. But we do have a process where we're going to be reviewing and providing feedback on the applications to help support areas that can be improved upon to better support students. So depending on the level for which you apply, you might not necessarily automatically be approved for an award at that level. We have been using the last couple of years to refine our criteria for those advanced tier recognition. So I'd recommend all of the schools who are planning to apply for a gold or a platinum award to review those criteria before submitting your application. If you received a platinum award last year, it does not necessarily mean you will receive the same level with the same responses. So it's really important, I think, to when you're in the application, read through all of the prompts to understand exactly what we're asking to be submitted, as well as to review that detailed criteria resource to be as prepared as you can when going into the application. Okay, so this year, the model school application process will be fully integrated into our PBS evaluation system, so PBS-ES. There's no longer going to be two separate locations for submitting your data and applying for model schools, as there has been in some of our previous school years. So you can see here the drop down for model schools. I'll show you that in a minute as well. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the website now, actually, to go through the application so you can see how it's going to look and function. See different criteria for levels prior to getting into the application for model schools. There is on our website, we've put together some resources that has the specific criteria for each award level. And we had a TA chat back in October where we went through this in more detail. So if you're interested in that, I recommend just going into our slides and finding those links and taking a look at those recordings. Before I get into our application, our programmer is still working on a few things, so it might change a little bit, but overall functionality will remain the same. It will not change from this summer when it opens up. This is also these web pages are not yet available on our website. This is kind of a sneak peek of what will be available in June when the application starts. Okay, so let's go ahead and open the website and start an application. I'm going to first start as a school. If I'm applying, I'm going to show you a bronze application and a platinum application. I'm going to show you how to confirm that your application was submitted, as well as how you're going to be receiving your notification of award. All right. And I probably won't be able to see the chat box much once I'm into the website. It's a little more difficult to manage. So Robin, if you would just let me know if anything pops up that I need to address.
I sure will. Thank you. And thank you, Brooke, for posting the resources with the detailed criteria.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so First, to start your application, you're going to log into PBSES. You're going to use the same credentials that you've used to access this website to enter your data. It was shared with all of the district coordinators and schools during the end year evaluation instruction process when we sent those out. Make sure you select access type of school and then log in. Might take a minute because this is our test website, so it doesn't run as quickly. All right, so you're going to find the model schools drop down here at the top of the page and go to schools and submit application. On this page, you're going to be seeing that full list of criteria for all award levels here. And you can see which requirement the school did not meet or that they met. So this particular school is eligible for a bronze award. They can see right here that they didn't meet these criteria and they were recommended for a bronze level. So this level that you're going to see here, it's based on all of these data requirements as well as the district coordinator recommended level. All right, then to start the application, you're just going to click next here, this green button. You will see there's going to be these kind of sections here. This is not a navigation menu. This is just showing you which part of the application that you're currently on. So if you click here, it's not going to do anything. You have to navigate through these green buttons down here. The first page of the application is where you're going to be entering your contact information. So your name, role, email address, as well as phone number. The email address that you put into the application here is the address that will be sent the final award information. So once your application is finalized, that's where the information is going to be sent. You also have the option to put in your school's Facebook and or LinkedIn page URLs if you would like. Typically, after everything has been finalized, our project will tag schools if they have their social media information in some social media posts, just congratulating them on their award. So if you don't provide this information, you might not be included in those tags. We also realized that with Facebook in particular, I'm not sure about LinkedIn, but with Facebook, your school's page has to actually enable outside tagging. So if you don't have that enabled, then you might see your school name, but the tag might not be working correctly. Okay, so before you begin the application, we also have this acknowledgement here that we ask that everyone reads. This is just to acknowledge to us that the data you've submitted is accurate, that all of the self-assessments were completed as they are intended with your team members' input, that you've reviewed all of the files that you're going to be uploading into the application and removed any student identifying information, and following these expectations as well. So once you've read that full acknowledgement, you're going to click this checkbox and continue on to the next section. So this school in this example is eligible for a bronze model school award. This year, the content within the bronze and the silver applications is actually optional. This is the first year we've done this. So schools will have the option to upload a resource or example at tier 1, showcasing some of their efforts, their PBIS efforts. So for bronze, this could be their behavioral expectations matrix, reinforcement system, data tools, lesson plans, etc. So if you'd like to share an example, you can upload it here and it might actually be featured by our project in a social media post, newsletter, something like that. So that's going to be possible. So you upload your resource and then you can say what kind of resource you selected. So I'm going to say I used a data tool here. The school is eligible for bronze. That's actually the end of the bronze application. Once you're satisfied with your response, click submit. You'll have the option to go back and edit it at all, or you can click OK and it will submit your application. You'll see this page right here saying it was successfully submitted. If you go back to your applications page, you can also verify that it has been, it's under review, and there's going to be a button here to view your response. This button is not, I can't pull up the report yet because that's still being worked on, but you will be able after submitting to take a look at what you submitted. Both you and your district coordinator can do that. You might also go, after you've submitted your application, to this application search page here. And you can confirm that the school, test school 1, submitted for review for a bronze award. Once that application has been reviewed and is finalized by our project, you'll also be able to download at this location your certificate and your ribbon. And for gold and platinum, you'll have access to some feedback on your application responses. So that will be available on this page. Something else that's available to schools is the school eligibility check right here. It's very similar to what the first page of that application. It's not currently showing the 23-24 data. It's still showing 22-23, but that will be updated. It will look very similar to this, and it will be updated and available in June prior to the application opening up. So that's another location to look at your eligibility. All right, so now I'm going to go through one more application. For a platinum award. And while I'm pulling this up, has any questions in the chat box yet?
We are answering them for you, Nicole.
There
Okay.
was just one, Nicole, in regards to schools completing the application once the DC makes the approval.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go through one more application, and I'll talk about what the district coordinator recommendation process looks like as well. And then we can answer any other questions that pop up. All right, so this school, Test School 13, it's eligible for a platinum award. You can see they have met all requirements as well as that recommendation. Putting in my contact information. See, one thing about the social media posts is they're linked to actual Facebook and LinkedIn pages. So if you try to enter something that isn't a Facebook URL here, it won't let you move forward. So I'm reading my acknowledgement here and continuing. So for gold and platinum, their applications will actually start with the silver section of their application process. So that's our recognition for tier 1 before they move on to tier 2 and 3. Similar to bronze, a silver award, it's optional here, but you can share a resource if you'd like. And indicate what kind of resource you're sharing. So I'm selecting a school climate survey as an example of how I'm collecting input from our students and families. I'm going to continue now to gold. Okay, so the gold application, it's where it starts to get a little bit more in depth. You'll see here, there are 8 required items, and you actually click this little blue accordion kind of button thing to pull up the application, the response to be able to submit. For each of the items, we have the primary question right here, and then some text below to provide a little bit more information about what we're looking for in those responses. I'm not going to go through each one in depth, but we do have those resources I mentioned before at the beginning of the session. But I will talk a little bit maybe about this first one. So we're asking for the school to upload a file to demonstrate their data sources and decision rules that they use to identify students to participate in tier 2 behavioral interventions. This text here lets me know that the file should provide evidence for both the database decision rules to identify students, that we will not accept responses that demonstrate a data source without also including those predetermined rules that are tied to those sources. Something we saw frequently in previous years is the team has a discussion and they make the decision if they require additional support. So we're not going to accept something, a response like that, unless it's clear that there are specific rules tied to those discussions and the data that led to those decisions. It should focus on the school system for identifying students. And here are some examples of the types of resources you might select to submit for this item. Could be teacher nomination forms with those those decision-making rules as well, meeting notes if it's showcasing those clear rules, etc. Something important throughout all of the items for the application, we ask that you just upload only the page or the resource that you feel best responds to that specific questions. So if you upload like a 50-page PBIS handbook without identifying where in that handbook it is addressing your process for identifying students, we probably won't accept that because our reviewer is not going to be able to necessarily find that information in such a large resource. So please at least highlight, or you can indicate here where in your upload the information that we need to look at is located. Also, this is kind of new throughout both the gold and the platinum applications. We are not accepting any uploads that has student identifying information within it. So that includes their name, address, ID number, birth date, or their parent guardian information. Okay, so once you've selected your file you'd like to upload here, you have the option of adding an additional description to let reviewers, again, understand exactly what it was that you uploaded and how it works to identify students at your school. Here are the allowable file types. I will point out that PowerPoint is not going to be an accepted file. So that's just because sometimes PowerPoint files can be very, very large. And it kind of interferes with the application since we have so many different file uploads. Maximum file size is 10 megabytes for each of your uploads. Okay, so you're going to go through each of the items for gold. Number 2 is how you match students to behavioral intervention groups. Again, you can upload your file to show that description and provide your response. The next item is asking for the name of one of your tier 2 behavioral interventions that you're using with students. For this example, I'm just going to say check and check out. Then you might hear you're asked to describe how that specific intervention, and all of the rest of the items here are going to be tied to the intervention that you enter for number 3. So describing how exactly this intervention is implemented, how it provides the supplemental supports. So you can say check and check out was implemented. And just describe I think for this item, looking for maybe a description of how it's implemented, what it looks like, so we can understand how it's providing those supplemental supports to students. All right, so number 5 is asking for your completed example of how you measured the fidelity of implementation of that check and check out is what I'm using here. So if I have a fidelity checklist that I use for all of my check and check out, sorry, all of the students who are receiving check and check out, I can upload that here and kind of describe how it's being used in the optional text box. And then for number 6, we're looking for progress monitoring tools and a completed example of how you measured progress monitoring. I'm using check and check out, so this might be where I upload student daily points received and kind of a graph over time about how that is used to monitor progress of the students. So I have 15 students, I'm going to say, who participated in check and check out during the previous school year. And of those, 12 of them we identified as experiencing progress based on the process up here for item 6. So this is a very quick overview of the gold section of the application. Once I've completed that, I can choose to submit for gold, or I can continue on to platinum. Similarly to gold, here's the platinum application. We have these accordion, I think that's what they're called, like accordion boxes to expand the text to see more information. Each of the items has a TFI item referenced, so that's to indicate which item of the TFI corresponds with that component of your tier 3 or tier 2 system. Might be something you might refer back to see how you scored your school on that section of the TFI. as well as maybe looking at some of the data sources recommended in the TFI instrument that correspond to that section. So that's just a reference for you. So for my tier 3 system, I had 6 students in ESE who received tier 3 supports, and I had 2 students in general education who received supports. Of those, I'm going to say 5 experienced progress towards their goals. I will talk a little bit more about the functional behavior assessment and behavior intervention plan upload here. So this is the section that we've asked if you're applying for Platinum to upload a de-identified FBA and BIP for the same student. This upload should include the definition and the function of the behavior and at least 3 types of interventions. So 1 to prevent, teach, and reinforce replacement behavior. It must be individualized to that student. And the intervention should be linked to the behavior and function from the FBA. We ask that the upload you use here is a recent example. So I think the date we have here is November of 2022. So if it's updated or was created prior to that, we will not accept it. So make sure the date is also included, as well as that all identifying information is removed. And I know especially this was challenging with the BIP and the FBA uploads, because a lot of them have templates where, you know, the student's name might be included on every page of your file in the same location or inserted within text. So just make sure that you're very thorough in reading your upload that you're submitting here and removing all of that information. There are 2 uploads available. You only have to use one. So these are available if you're uploading the FBA and the BIP as separate files, you can do that. But for me, I'm going to say I have my FBA and BIP are both in this one file that I'm uploading here. Then I'm moving forward. This is my example of how I monitor the fidelity of the intervention implementation of the different interventions within the BIP that I selected and uploaded. And finally, how I monitored progress of that student. So my file that I'm selecting here is how I measured progress of that particular student's behavior that was outlined in the BIP. So now I have submitted all sections, completed all sections of my Platinum application. I can use these green buttons to go back. And then I can go ahead and submit. So now, again, I receive this confirmation. I go back and see here that I submitted. And I can go to the application search page to see that it was submitted and access my approved level when that's available.
Nicole, while you're
Yes.
on this page, we had a question about the feedback. And the question was related to specific feedback, or will it be generic feedback?
Okay, I can pull up last year's. Actually, no, I can't do that because I don't have a test school available. I'll see what this pulls up. Yeah, this doesn't work right now. So if I think it will basically go through each of the items in the gold and the platinum application. Oh, here it is. It is pulling it up. So it won't look exactly like this, but kind of similar, where it's going to pull up each of the items in your gold and platinum and kind of give you a score, like a met or did not meet kind of score, for each specific item. So it's not necessary. And then there's going to be a spot for notes. So if our reviewers are going to be taking notes, they can give some more specific feedback in that section. So you'll be able to see which particular item you met the criteria for, or which items you did not meet. And the notes should provide some additional information for you. Or at least, actually, I think those notes won't be necessarily available to you, but available to your TA and to your district coordinator to then, if you had specific questions, you could reach out to them and like go over the feedback a little bit more thoroughly. So I can't show you that part of our application is still being built, so I can't show you exactly what it's gonna look like. But you will have some feedback and it will be specific in naming the item that you met or did not meet. Robin, were there other questions?
No, we were able to answer the other questions. They were in general to when the application opens, what's required, et cetera, and
Mhm.
that's been addressed. So
Okay.
we're okay.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to actually log in. I'm going to sign out. I'm going to log in as a district coordinator. Oops. So again, when a district coordinator is logging in to PPSES, same credentials you use that you've accessed for end-year evaluations and those same functions. So district coordinators still have the ability to submit recommendations on this website. So you go to Model Schools, district recommendations. And here you can see your list of schools who were eligible based on their data, and you'll be able to select your level for which you'd like to recommend. So you'll go through this list, submit all of your recommendations for all of your schools. You can preview your changes. And then once you save them, they will be in the database. So once you submit that recommendation, as soon as you submit it, that school will then have access to the application and they can go in and complete it. Also on this page, you'll be able to monitor application status. So this is for any of your eligible schools. You can see that there already are some who submitted an application and the date. And then you can see there are some that are recommended that haven't yet submitted. District coordinators also have that same application search, but they'll be able to see the information for all of the schools in their district. So it'll show eligible award level, recommended level, submitted level, approved level, and then once approved, they can download certificates, ribbons, and feedback forms. Finally, districts will have access to the district eligibility check. So that's similar to the school one, but you'll see, again, this will be updated for the 23-24 school year. We'll have all of your schools listed and the requirements for model schools that they met or that they did not meet yet. So I'm going to actually pull back up my slides just to talk a little bit about finalization of your awards. This is just a screenshot. Just remember, schools cannot start their application until you submit your recommendation. So try to do that as soon as you can, starting in June, so that schools will have enough time to complete their applications. So we anticipate that notifications of your awards will be sent out to the school contacts and district coordinators sometime in September, probably late in September because there's that extensive review process built in now. Once approved for a level, all of your schools are going to receive a certificate and a digital ribbon that has their school name and the award level. So you can use these ribbons on social media, email signatures, websites. Kind of here are some examples just of different places you might use those. When a school submits an application, they will receive an email notifying them that it has been submitted, as well as a district coordinator. And then when a school is approved for a final award level, an email will go out as well to the school and to the district coordinator. Schools will also receive in that email access to a media kit to give them other ideas for sharing their award information. And then probably a couple months after it's been finalized, we're going to be shipping all of the schools either a banner to display at their school. So if you're a newly awarded model school, you'll receive a banner that you can hang up at your school to showcase your award. And if you're an existing model school, you'll receive a new sticker for the current year that you can add to your banner. Oops. Okay, so that was a pretty quick overview of the some of the requirements, what the application is going to look like. just a reminder to submit recommendations after June 18th, and schools visit within June 18th to September 1st to submit your applications. It has a link right here to your PBSES website. But I wanted to make sure we had enough time in our chat today for some questions and answers. If there are any other questions, I'll pull up the chat box now. That is not it. I don't know why I can't find the chat, but Robin, has there been any other questions?
No, ma'am. And Brooke just posted the link to today's handouts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
So does anybody have questions about the criteria to apply, any of the website information or processes or anything like that for model schools?
Wow, you have done just such a great job. There's no questions. Everyone's informed. Yeah. And I will just say I love the improvements to the data system. I think it's wonderful. It's really going to be helpful to all of our district coordinators and then to all of us as TAs as well. So thank you, Nicole, and your team.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to pull up, before you guys leave, I want to pull up the poll questions today. I just have to find out where those are. So we do a similar TA chat every year. Where's the Robin, do you know how to pull up the polls? Oh, I got it. Never mind.
Okay, did you find the poll? Okay.
Yep, I'm launching the poll.
So Jessica has a question. Are we getting this PowerPoint? Yes, it is on the link. And that's been posted for today's chat. The chat will be uploaded as a recording very shortly, within the next few days.
Yes. And just something about the poll, we do, like I was mentioning, we do this a very similar TA chat every year, kind of going through the application process and the what it looks like online. So it's very important if you do have feedback on it, like kind of the type of information that I'm sharing today, to provide that in the poll, because we will use that when we're organizing the similar TA chat next year. It's the only information we have to know if we're meeting your needs. Do we have to be trained to make model school status? You do have to be in a trained active school and be submitting data to us. Yes.
Oh, Nicole, the other requirement, I think it's worth mentioning at this point, is district coordinators are probably well aware, but it appears as if we have some other folks on today's chat. Your district must have gone through the yearly implementation planning process this past year in order for the district to be eligible. And we do have some district coordinators that add additional criteria as to whether or not they will make a recommendation, and that is entirely up to that district coordinator. So if you are not a district coordinator today, you may want to check in with that person to ensure that your schools are eligible, at least to be considered if they meet criteria.
Thank you, Robin.
You are welcome.
We are getting a few questions coming up in the chat box.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the ones that we have maybe not have yet addressed.
I think if you're accessing PBSES and submitting data to us for your school, you are an active school. You won't be able to access that if you currently aren't active with our project. There was a question about steps for the district coordinator. It's the same steps. You'll be, as it's been actually a few years ago, it's a little bit better, I think, this year, because now you won't have a short window to submit your recommendation. You can have that a longer period of time. But yes, once eligible, you can access the recommendations to submit. for tier 2, we're not, we don't have any requirements related to the typical core data, the 10 to 15%, as far as the numbers to be eligible for gold. If you're, I think, looking at your tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, if you have an intervention that's being universally applied to all of the students at your school, then that might not be, even if you're a school setting that has that setup a little bit more. I'm trying to phrase this better, but there should be a tiered intervention approach within your school where a portion of your school, of your students are receiving those supplemental supports. So I hope that answers your question. Anything else that I missed today?
Nicole, I'm looking back through the thread and it appears as if we have answered all the questions so far. Oh, Stephanie has a question.
Yes. Yes, it doesn't. If a large portion of students receive tier 2 interventions, they can still be eligible for gold.
Nicole, I think it's also a nice opportunity just to remind folks on the line that we do have a ton of resources under the tier 2 tab as well as the tier 3 tab. If you're looking for examples of progress monitoring, fidelity checks, so that you can see exactly what we're looking for. It's best to go to the website just to kind of check it out and then compare to what you're using just to determine if your documentation is in line with what we're looking for.
Absolutely. And I put in some links in the handout. I did include some links to the tier 2 and 3 sections of our website that have those resources. Definitely recommend the
Perfect.
example fidelity checklists and
Yes.
progress monitoring tools.
And Robin, your comment just made me think about if you are perhaps the one working on this application, but you primarily support your PBIS implementation solely at tier 1 based on your role, you might want to pull in your other support personnel that work with your tier 2 and tier 3 to help speak the language and fill out the application with regard to those systems pieces as well. So it doesn't have to be a singular person filling out the application, but it is one application that gets completed.
Absolutely. And we do have in our live binder a fillable practice form. So it has all of the same items that you just saw in the online portal are included in that form, worded pretty much the same way. So if you want right now to start planning your application, even though the window hasn't opened up, you can start pulling together your artifacts and planning some of your responses using that form to then just transput into the application when it's ready.
Excellent suggestion, Nicole. That is really, really important. And thank you, Brooke, for sharing that as well. Because some schools have separate teams. So every school looks different. And so engage with other team members that have responsibilities for students receiving tier 2 and tier 3 supports. Divide and conquer, as I always say.
All right, if there are no more questions, I'm gonna end it a little bit earlier. I will stay on the phone for a few more minutes just in case folks did want to talk a little bit more about anything. But thank you for joining me today. I can't wait to see your applications and learn more about what your schools are doing. And thank you to my team, Robin, Brooke, and others for keeping on top of the chat box and helping out today. Thank you.